Guys, welcome back to my channel. So today's video is going to be all about the Morphe Jaclyn Hill Dark Magic palette. The look on my eyes is the look I did create using this palette today. I hope you guys do enjoy it. This palette was pretty fun to play with just because it was pretty different than any other palette I own. So when it came to doing the same kind of setup as I did with my first Jaclyn the Vault video when I used the Ring the Alarm palette, there was no dupes or similarities between the Dark Magic palette and her original Jaclyn Hill palette. So that kind of threw me for a curveball because I was like, okay, I knew looking at this palette how original it was, how different it was, and how unique it was. I feel like, for me personally, I haven't seen anything on the makeup market that looks like this, that is this cool zone with these blues, grays, greens, browns, very grungy, very smoky, and I haven't seen anything like it yet. I thought the best way that I could utilize this palette and give y'all opinions and everything was still show you swatches, so that's what we're gonna do. And instead of showing comparisons to the original Jaclyn Hill palette, I'm gonna show you palettes that are similar, have similar colors, have the same kind of layout, the same theme. That way maybe you don't want to purchase a Vault, or maybe you just don't support Morphe, or you don't like their formula, you're not comfortable supporting and buying this palette, you know, whatever your reasons may be, I'm gonna give you some alternatives to these palettes because I know everybody's not crazy about Morphe. Not everybody's crazy about Jaclyn and the Vault and everything like that. So I'm just gonna here to give you some ideas. But first we are going to go over the swatches that I did do because I wanted to provide swatches still, because I did realize these swatches in my last video were a lot more helpful to you guys, and a lot of y'all saw the same problem I came across of how my swatches did not compare to her swatches she did in her video. And I wanted to put that to the test for this video, and I honestly think the swatches in this video with this palette are much better than the Ring the Alarm palette, and I didn't do anything differently. These are all single swatches that I did do, and the only swatches I had to double up on, which basically means go in twice, was Poof in the shade Shush, or Shh. I hate that name so much. I don't know what it is, because they're really light matte shades, and you'll see why in the swatches. So the first one we're gonna show right now is Poof. This is a very light cream shade. This is a shade that I did use to set my eye primer and my concealer today in the tutorial. I like this shade simply because in the last palette in the Ring the Alarm there wasn't a shade like this, so I had to go with my own translucent powder and do that. But I really liked Poof. Very light, kind of just, you know, plain boring setting shadow. Then we go into the shade Power Cut. This is the shade I have all over my inner half of my eyelid today. This shade is very beautiful. It's kind of like a silver, but there's like a little bit of like a gunmetal color in there. Really beautiful, and the swatch you're getting is a one swipe swatch. I did not go in 2 times. I want to give y'all the most real swatches of the Vault collection, so that is one swatch, and it's really beautiful. I did go with MAC Fix Plus whenever I did apply it to my lid, and when I applied it to my lid the first time, I wasn't as like blown away as I was whenever I swatched it. So you'll see that in the tutorial. And then the next shade right here is this light brown shade, which I applied into my transition color. This is the shade Shh. I don't like this name. I don't know why, I just don't like it. Maybe it's just because you have to say shh. I don't know. I'm not a fan of it. It's a pretty brown shade, but I actually had to double up the swatches, so I went through twice simply because I felt that it wasn't as pigmented with one swatch. It was kind of a little bit powdery, a little dry. So going with the second time, you get a little bit more pigmentation. The next was Trickery. This is a really pretty like forest green shade. This didn't show up to have as much shimmer in it as I was hoping it to be, because when you look at the pan, kind of when you hit the light, it has a little bit of a shimmery reflect to it, but not as much as it looks like when you swatch it. So that's really the only difference there. And then the next shade we have right here is called Diversion. This one's really beautiful and unique too. It's kind of like a brownish silver shade, and I thought it to be a lot different than Power Cut. Again, really beautiful one swatch shade. These are not like pressed pigments. They are really soft, finely milled glitters, and they're not chunky, and they're really soft to the touch. And then whenever you move down to the second row, we have the shade Potion, which is a matte forest green shade. This shade was also very soft to swatch. It didn't go on patchy, didn't go on any dry like kind of feel as a brown shade in the top row, the name that I don't like. So it didn't go on weird at all. And then we have Busted, which is all on the outer half of my eye right here. This is this blue shade that we did use. Really like this shade Busted. I find it to be a very unique kind of like ocean blue shade. Really intrigued me. That's why I wanted to be a star of the show in this look. And then we go to Inside Job, which is kind of like Trickery, but a matte version, so it absolutely has no shimmer. I find those two to be pretty similar just because they're those kind of like deep dark greens. One has a little bit of a satin finish, one has you know, a completely matte finish, but they are really pretty green. And then we go with the shade Mojo, which I have into my crease right here in the beginning part of my eye. This is like a really deep like berry brown. Like it's not a lot of berry, but it's a little bit of berry, but a lot of like the deep brown shades, and it's really beautiful. And then we move on to Temptress. Temptress was a very dark black, very soft, lightly pressed dark black, because when I swatched this, I ended up with black all over my palette simply because of how softly pressed it was. And you can tell it is a very pigmented black upon just swatching it. And I really like that because I think you're gonna get a really good payoff when you do use it. I didn't use it in today's look simply because I wanted to keep it with these blues and silvers, but it's a very, very soft, light pressed look. So now that we have covered the swatches, I wanna go into palettes that you may be interested in to purchase or look in if maybe you just simply don't wanna buy this palette from the vault or you're not interested in Morphe. One thing I do want to touch on real quick though is I did see, like, I bet maybe it was like last week or so, I'm not too sure, but I did see somewhere where on, I think it was Twitter and Instagram, somebody commented underneath JACLYN Hill's most recent video when she used this palette in her tutorial, and she like skipped over using a blue shade on her lid, and there was a lot of controversy of that. And then somebody commented and basically said, WTF JACLYN, you expect people to waste their money by having to get rid of your product because it's, I mean, I'm not going to cuss here because I don't want to get demonetized, but they basically said it's terrible. People have not had to do that to make something they paid for usable, no matter how little they have to scrape off they paid for it. So basically this person is referring to, because earlier on an Instagram post, JACLYN Hill basically told somebody who was having problems with the palette, it wasn't as pigmented, kind of like the problem I was having with the Railing Alarm palette. So JACLYN basically told them to take a paper towel and scrape off the first layer of the eyeshadow, or take your nail and scrape off the first layer of the eyeshadow. Me being the consumer that I am, and that I purchased these 4 palettes, I didn't want to do that, and that really rubbed me the wrong way, because I'm like, okay, if we had to stop the production of the palettes the first go around because there was an inconsistency, the second go around you should be 100% like, okay, they're perfect, they're exactly what I want, like, okay, I feel confident enough to put my name on it, let's release it, let's go. And I feel like they kind of rushed it out the door, maybe because it had to be postponed for like a month before releasing it. So I don't know how you could tell somebody who paid $50 for the vault, or maybe, I don't know if they only bought one palette, to basically take a paper towel and scratch off the top. I didn't think that was right. I didn't do that. I basically just swatched it how they were so I could give y'all honest swatches, but that rubbed me the wrong way, because I'm like, okay, from a consumer standpoint here, how are you gonna tell me that when your palette already got pulled back once? So when it came out again, it should be 100% ready to come out and something that you're proud of and be able to put your name on it. Not, oh yeah, it's great, it's great, it's great, but take a paper towel and scratch off the top. That didn't sit okay with me. I wasn't okay with that, and I just wanted to put that in here that maybe you're aware if you're having the same issue that this person was having. You can try that. As stupid as it may sound, I just still can't believe that she had kind of the audacity to say that even after the whole fact of the palette being pulled back to begin with. So anyways, what we're going to move into now is basically alternatives. So like I did say, if you don't want to buy it, you don't want to buy Morphe, anything like that, I have some alternatives for y'all, and these are all from Ulta. That way they were easy to get a hold of and find. So I have 4 of them right here, and they are all drugstore, I believe. Yes. The first one is the Makeup Revolution, the Emily Edit, the Once eyeshadow palette. I want this personally for myself because I absolutely love Emily Noel. I used to watch her for so long, and I just haven't watched her more recently, but I love this palette. And the reason I'm including this is because not specifically that it matches the Dark Magic palette, but more so it kind of encompasses all 4 of the Vault palettes in one. As you can tell, it has a lot of the same colors that all 4 of the Vault do have. It has some of the browns, the berries, the reds, the oranges, the greens, and the purples, the golds. It embodies like all 4 of the Vault palettes, and this is only 20 bucks. So maybe if you don't want to buy all of them, I would definitely look into this. I've heard really good things about this palette so far. And then the next thing that we do have is the Makeup Revolution Reloaded palette. So this is the Reloaded palette right here. As you can tell, it has a lot of those dark foresty deep blue shades. So I think this would be a good one to look into also. And another thing, it's only $7, so very affordable. Makeup Revolution is sold mostly at every Ulta, so it's pretty easy to get a hold of. And again, it also has 2 berry shades. It has a yellow, it has a more peachy shade, a deeper purple, so you get a little bit more variety and it is more affordable. And then the next one I have right here is the e.l.f. It's the Mad for Matte Holy Smokes eyeshadow palette. This one is only $10. This is the palette right here. As you can tell, it goes from a white to a deep black. There's some purples in there, a green, a berry, an orange, and a yellow. This is fairly similar to the Makeup Revolution one also, but just in case you wanted something maybe a little more toned down, this was a good alternative. And then lastly, we have the NYX Gloomy Days Perfect Filter eyeshadow palette, and this is on sale for $13.99 right now, normally $19.99. So this is what this palette looks like right here. So as you can tell with this one, it's more of a gray tone, cool toned palette, but still kind of has that same vibe. But since I did do the tutorial and everything already, I basically want to say if you don't have anything like this in your collection, if this is something new to you, if you absolutely don't have any colors like this, do I think it's worth it? Yes, because the quality and the pigmentation of it is here. I think though, once you kind of swatch off the first layer, I would definitely wouldn't rub it with a paper towel or anything like that. But I think the swatches in here are a lot better than the Ring the Alarm palette. I prefer this one over the Ring the Alarm personally because I think this one's the most unique one I've seen yet. For the Vault collection, I think this one's totally different and totally unique to the makeup community. So I think this is pretty cool. And like I do always say, $15 for this with a mirror is a good bet. But if you're like an everyday person, you know, maybe you're a mom, a teacher, a nurse, or somebody like that, and maybe these colors aren't right up your alley, I don't honestly think you need it, like in reality. Unless you love these tones, this is something that you do on an everyday basis, I definitely don't think you need it. So it's definitely personal preference, but it's up to you. So that is basically my little words when it came to the Dark Magic palette. I like the palette for myself. Like I did say, I did create this look and I love this look. But it's really gonna depend upon what you want and what you're gonna use in the tones that you like. So without further ado, let's just go ahead and jump into the tutorial. Okay, so as you can tell, eyebrows are on, ready to go. We have concealer on the lids, and we also have tape on the sides, just because I kind of like that look more whenever I do dramatic looks. So since this palette does have like a cream shade in it, that is what we're going to use to set the concealer on our eyelids. And I know definitely I want to use the shade Busted, and I want to use the shade Power Cut, and probably Shush, I don't know. It's like a brown shade, so I know I definitely want to do that. Starting off first, we're going to take the shade right here called Poof, and this is the lightest shade in the palette, so we are going to take this and set the concealer that we did put down. So as you can tell in the beginning of the video, whenever I did the swatches, this palette specifically is, first off, is very unique. I'm not going to go into too much detail because like I said, I already did in the beginning. But it's a very unique palette, and it was really hard to find anything resembling the first JACLYN palette. But I loved how original this palette was. Like, this is probably, I don't want to say a first in the makeup industry, but it is a really unique, cool palette. And I think this palette swatched a lot better than the Ring the Alarm palette, which was the first palette I did use. And that video is already up on my channel, so if you want to see that, definitely go look for it. I will have a card up, or it will be linked down below in the description box. But I definitely think it swatched better. I still don't think it's a par to the swatches she had on her YouTube channel, because I still think those swatches are just, they're a lot more better than what the palette gives off, I guess. On a fluffy brush, we're gonna take this shade right here called I really don't like the name of the shade. Just feel, I don't know, I just don't really like it. I think it's a little weird. But this does have a little bit of kick up in the pan. And we're gonna take this and buff this into the crease. I really wanna do something pretty dramatic in blue today. So now that this shade is blended out, definitely blended out pretty smoothly. It's not choppy, nothing looks off on my eye. So that's a pretty good shade to start out with. Going in with this color right here called Busted. This was gonna be the star of the show. I really want to emphasize this color a lot. It's going to be very pronounced on my eye. We're just gonna kind of see. So I'm going to first start by applying this. Oh wow, okay, that's a pretty pigmented deep blue. So I'm gonna start by applying this right here in the outer V to begin with, and then I'm slowly gonna work this into the crease, but only take it about halfway in the crease, and then I'm really gonna start to kind of flick it out. That way that blue really extends. Like, this is a really, really dramatic look. So I'm just gonna go back in and re-intensify this. And then we're gonna do the same thing again on the other side.
I've never done anything like this, I'm kind of nervous because that was literally crazy to me. I've never incorporated color like this vibrant right there. So we're gonna take the blue right here about halfway in and then start to extend it outwards.
It's a really pretty blue shade though. Like, I really like the color of the shade. It's kind of like, it's not a deep blue. It's almost not like an aqua, but it's really beautiful. And I do notice the shadows just getting a little bit choppy right here to the inner corner. But that's okay because we're definitely not gonna leave it like this. So I'm gonna go in with the first shade that we did use again, and I'm just going to blend this out right here. Definitely after doing this makeup look, I'm gonna have to wash my brushes because this is a lot. So I'm just gonna blend this inner part out right here. I want to blend out the blue line out here, but mostly just right here in the inner part of my eye. And then the star of the show that I really want to put all over the open space we have right here is the shade Power Cut. The swatch of this looked absolutely beautiful, so I'm pretty excited about this. And I already know from using the very first palette that I want to go in with a wet brush. And that's exactly what I'm gonna do. I took my MAC 242, I sprayed it with a little bit of Fix Plus, and now we're gonna go in with the shade Power Cut. I love this color. It's not like a pressed pigment either. It's just a really, really pretty glitter. Oh yes. Ooh, okay, definitely feel fallout. Fallout is all over my cheek. Definitely right here on my nose area.
The padding is on, and I'm going to extend it a little bit over the blue. And I'm going to go in with the other eye also. And then we will go in and re-intensify the shade once we blend everything out. I just wanted to get kind of like a base for this color down. That way I kind of know exactly what I'm doing. Still really don't know what I'm doing, but you know, it's fine.
So now taking the shade Mojo on a small pencil brush, and I'm just going to apply just a little bit of Mojo right over the silver shadow we just applied. And I'm not going to take this over the blue. I specifically just want it over the silver shadow. Really have no idea what I'm doing. I just really wanted to play with these colors. And I like the way the silver color did apply. It looks really pretty. I felt like it was gonna be a little bit more pigmented, like a little bit more like shimmery looking, but not really. And they're going with that first blending brush that we did use. I'm going to blend this out. I'm gonna add a little bit more of the first shade that we did take and apply this right in the inner part of my eye again. And then I'm taking the shade, not the shade, but I'm taking the brush that we used to apply the blue shade, and not with any, I'm not adding any more product. I'm just going over right where the silver shade touches the blue and kind of blending them together. And I'm gonna add just a little bit more blue to re-intensify it right here on the outer V of my eye. And then we are gonna go back in with Power Cut one more time just because I feel like it's just not that intense as I was hoping. Like the swatches look really pretty, but I want it to be a little bit more like shimmery. So I'm gonna take the first brush that we did use and kind of go over everything, my whole entire eyelid right here, just to make sure everything is nicely blended together. So what I'm gonna do now is just kind of peel off my tape, and then I'm gonna go and finish up the rest of my face makeup and apply lashes, and then we will come back and do the lower lash line. The lashes I am gonna apply are the Eyelure and Nikki ones, so I'm gonna apply these. Any lashes will do, or no lashes at all, but I'm going to apply those and then we'll be right back. I keep wanting to take the tape off, but we'll be right back. Let me go do this real quick. Okay, so now that lashes are on, the blue doesn't look that scary. I always feel like I look so strange whenever I do like dramatic looks like this and I have nothing on my face. I literally look like a skeleton. But before we're completely done, I definitely want to smoke out the lower lash line like quite a bit with the blue. So what I think I want to do first is on a definer brush, I'm going to take Mojo, which is this darker shade that we used in the crease, and I'm going to push that against my lower lash line. And then for the real showstopper, we're going to take the blue shade. That Power Cut shade did have a lot of fallout though, and I feel like I put a pretty big dent in the shade, just by kind of looking at it. But on a small little fluffy brush, we're gonna take the shade Busted, and that is the blue shade that we applied, and we are going to smoke out the lower lash line. And I wanna actually connect it to the blue on the outer part. So that is what we're gonna do. So now that we are super smoked out, I'm going to take a little bit of my Wet Mod Lower Lash Mascara. And then to highlight our inner corner, I'm going to go in with the same Power Cut shade that we used on our crease. And apply this right here to our inner corner. And then I'm going to mix it with a little bit of poof for our brow bone, because I don't want that silver shade all over my brow bone. And then I'm gonna apply a little bit of the Dose of Colors lip gloss in Can You Not, just because it's a nude and we don't need anything else right now. And this is the finished look. I hope you guys did enjoy this video. Let me know down below if you like this tutorial more than the first tutorial I did with the Ring the Alarm palette. Which look do you like more? You know, what are your thoughts on this palette? Do you have the same thoughts like I did with the Ring the Alarm palette versus the Dark Matter palette? Not Dark Matter, Dark Magic. So basically just kind of let me know what you think down below, and let me know your thoughts on the topics I addressed in the beginning of the video. Do you think what she told that customer was right? I mean, obviously I think most people are going to say no to that, but let me know what you guys think down below. I will more than likely probably do the other orange palette in the vault. I'm looking this way because the vault is over there, but I can't think of what the other palette's name is called, but it has like the oranges and the greens in it, so I'm probably going to use that one next, and then the last one will be the purple palette, because I think I want to leave the purple palette for last because I have a feeling that may be my favorite. But I really like this look I like came out with. Like, it looks really pretty because I really like how dramatic the blue is, and it's just, I really like it. And then a simple nude glossy lip looks really pretty with it, so I'm really happy with it. I really like it. Like, I really love this look. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Thank y'all so much for watching. Please subscribe, and I will see you guys later. Bye, y'all.